Very good evening, friends. Meeting again in the session of Stuart Close Philosophy, and we are discussing the homeopathic posology. That is the chapter number 13. The two sessions we have discussed. In the introductory session, he started explaining about the concepts regarding the posology. Then he started there are three different ways with which a medicine is used in the human beings. The first variety is physiological doses, second variety which is called to be a pathogenetic effects, and third one which is called to be a therapeutic purpose. And all those three, how to use and how they react and the action of it always depends upon the size and strength of the dose which is given. Number two, the susceptibility of the human being. And third important thing is that the which principle you are using in order to treat that disease. It depends upon that. So those concepts which we have discussed in length in last two lectures, and he has explained that physiological doses never produces any type of disorder over there. They are needed in order to achieve something. For example, he has given the example of a atropine which is given during surgery in order to maintain the uh, heart rate, or sometimes the local anesthesia is given for the purpose of making the part numb for time being, or we are consuming the salt in our diet in a physiological dose which never produces any type of symptom. The pathogenetic means which when given used to produce its effects over there. There are two types of reactions which develops. If you give it in crude form, it used to produce the primary action, but if you give it in the dynamic form or potentized form, it used to produce only the react action, and reaction is according to it. So it used to produce the symptomatology which is specific to that specific stimulus. And third is that the dose, the therapeutic dose. Therapeutic dose varies in allopathy, therapeutic dose varies in homeopathy. In allopathy, it is fixed, it is according to the weight. So it is related with the specific quantity. So either 5 milligram per kilogram of body weight, 15 milligram per kilogram of body weight, like that. It can be calculated like this. But in homeopathy, it depends upon many factors. It depends upon what medicine you are using. It depends upon what is the susceptibility of that human being. It depends upon age. It depends upon sex. It depends upon what type of disease is there. It depends upon how that disease is manifesting itself. So there are many pros and cons which we will going to learn in this chapter further. So those are the things which we have to take into consideration and we have to learn in this chapter. We were on page number 187, the last paragraph we have finished. Just to continue with the last two sentences. In considering the reasons why the dose of the medicine chosen homeopathically is necessarily smaller than the physiological dose of antipathic or allopathic prescription, we meet first the fact of organic resistance. Every living human or every living organism is endowed with an inherent automatic power of reaction to stimuli. By means of this power, the organism offers resistance. By this power, by means of this power, the organism offers resistance to everything which tends to injure or destroy its integrity or disturb its normal functioning. Resistance is manifested by the suffering, by the pain, by the fever, by the inflammation, by change in the secretions or excretions. So here he tries to explain there are two varieties. If you are giving the physiological doses, it is material where you don't have to see the resistance. Generally, it is direct action of that drug substance on the human being. So material acts in a different manner, but something which is of dynamic or very minute quantity acts on the human being, then there is a resistance given to that stimulus. That resistance is encountered in the form of some symptomatology because something tries to enter in your body and your body tries to react to it. This is what is called as a resistance. So homeopathic medicine, when you give in dynamic doses, it only works as a stimulus and body reacts, the vitality reacts. It is the reaction about reaction of the vital force against the stimulus in the form of some resistance, and that's why there develops some symptomatology. For example, we take an LMC per dose 200 and 2-3 times, and immediately we start getting irritation in the nose, the watering from the nose, the sneezing over there associated with little bit lacrimation over there. This is the reaction, the resistance given by the body against that stimulus. So this is how it works. This works according to Newton's third law, that is actions and reactions are equal and opposite. It is not direct action of the medicine on the human being. So the every living organism reacts to that certain stimulus. The power is displayed when the drugs are administered, because drugs are inimical to health in proportion to their power and the size of the dose. In order for a dissimilar drug to produce its effects, its so-called physiological effect, therefore, dose must be large enough to overcome first this bodily resistance, and second, to produce its characteristic symptom. If you want to produce action materially, for example, you want to produce the action on the human being with the help of taking coffee. You take the coffee, 1 or 2 cups, a strong coffee, and let us see what happens. It is the material dose which acts on you. You feel very much happy for time being. Your mood is elated. The freshness comes. The drowsiness disappears. This happens because it is direct effect on of that specific coffee on you, on your body, on your blood, and it directly acts on your brain, producing such types of features over there, and that's why your mood have been changed for time being. There is no direct reaction of the vital force, because vital force is submissive when you give the larger doses of the drug substances. So everything, whenever used either on antibiotic principle or either with the allopathic way of method of prescribing, the medicines which are given, they are in tangible doses, they are in measuring doses, they are in material doses, acts directly. There is no reaction of vital force. Force becomes submissive, and there is direct action of that medicinal substance on human being. Common example we know is the paracetamol. If you take paracetamol 650 milligram and you get after 1 hour, there is a tremendous sweating which develops. That is a primary action of the paracetamol on the human body, where there is no resistance is given by the vital force, because it is larger enough than the vital force reaction. When its value, when its content, material content inside the body starts decreasing, and it has been thrown away by the kidneys, then vital force gets aroused again and the reaction starts. Because the dose is strong enough to produce its effects on the human being in such a manner. But things are rather different when we give the homeopathic remedy. When the similar or homeopathic drug is administered in the disease, little or no resistance is encountered, because the sphere of its action has already been invaded and its resistance overcome by similarly acting disease producing agent. The affected organs or tissues are open to attack from without. The susceptibility of the similar drug is therefore greatly increased. So things are rather different when we use the homeopathy. Homeopathic principle is used, that is law of similars we use whenever the patient suffers, whenever patient comes. For example, patient comes to you with a coryza, with a typical watering from the nose, dropping from the tip of the nose, with lot of sneezing, with irritation in the eyes also. There is lacrimation and patient gets aggravated in the room, better been open air, and you are damn sure this is Allium cepa. If you are so sure about the Allium cepa at that time, then You give the LMC per depending upon susceptibility of the patient, and for example, you have selected 200 and you have given 1 or 2 doses. Already the patient is suffering from same symptoms which LMC per will going to induce. So patient is already susceptible to it, and you are giving it in so minute dose that which you cannot measure by any instrument, but which has energy. Patient susceptibility is high enough to receive that energy. Same energy with same symptoms naturally produce an instantaneous homeopathic aggravation for a time being, because there is no resistance is offered. There is no question of resistance because the similar things are already present in your body. So no question of resistance develops, and then there is a similar type of reaction called to be homeopathic aggravation. So susceptibility to the similar drug is therefore greatly increased. This is what he says. The homeopathic drug acts upon identical tracks involved in disease process in a manner similar to the action of disease producing cause itself, in order that the suffering of the affected organs may not be increased and the patient injured. A much smaller dose must be given. So already the patient has symptoms. You give the similar variety of a medicine which induces similar types of symptoms. So dose which you are going to give in such similarity should be very, very minute. And that's why higher the similarity, acute the susceptibility, higher must be potency, because you don't have to give a larger dose over there. Here you have to give very small amount of dose. Second important thing, don't have to repeat it too much, because already the patient is highly susceptible. One dose is sufficient, or 1 or 2 doses are sufficient. In order that the suffering of the affected organs may not be increased and patient injured, a much smaller dose must be given. The homeopathic dose, therefore, is always a sub-physiological or sub-pathogenic dose. That is, a dose so small as not to produce pathogenic symptoms. For we desire not to produce more symptoms, but only to remove and obliterate symptoms already existing. It must also be given in a dose so small as not to produce a severe aggravation of the already existing symptom. So, here you have to be very watchful and careful while selecting the potency. You have to judge the susceptibility. If the susceptibility is high, patient is suffering from acute disease, and patient case is open enough and your simillimum is very perfect, then you choose depending upon what medicine you are using, either medium or high potency, and give it in a single dose so that it will not produce severe type of homeopathic aggravation. If it is perfect simillimum, there is no question of medicinal aggravation. Whatever will happen is homeopathic aggravation, but it should not be of a higher degree, and that's why the repetition should be so minimum over there. Another reason for the small dose lies in the fact that disease renders the affected parts abnormally sensitive, as we see in an inflamed eye, which is painfully sensitive to degree of light to which it reacts normally in health. So he is giving example why not to repeat too much or why not to give too high doses. Already the patient is suffering over there. For example, patient is suffering with conjunctivitis and he is very sensitive to light. He cannot look towards the light because already he has suffered, and you have selected a remedy. For example, you would have selected the belladonna on the basis of symptom similarity to the patient. Already patient is highly susceptible and he is not able to look towards the light, and if you are giving repeated belladonna, it will cause an aggravation. So here you have to judge the susceptibility and you have to select the potency, either 200, either 1 m, and give it 1 or 2 doses. That's sufficient. Already case is open enough. There will be no question of resistance. The medicine will act instantaneously in the form of a reaction from the human being. And that's why there will be little bit homeopathic aggravation followed by an amelioration. The third reason is that the homeopathic drug is always given singly so that action is complete and unmodified by other drug. Here you are not giving two medicines putting together. Whatever medicine you are giving at a time is a single, and because of which the action to that specific stimulus is unmodified, and that reaction is very instantaneous, similar to the patient suffering, and there will be little bit homeopathic aggravation, not more than that. See how clearly he is explaining how our medicines acts and why we are giving medicines in such a manner. Homeopaths do not say vaguely, vague means aspashta, vaguely that medicines in infinitesimal doses cure disease unconditionally. The proportional means what? It means that homeopathic medicines are also acts conditionally. It is not that they act unconditionally. It is not. There must be a condition. First, it should be a simillimum. Second, it should be in proper, judging the proper susceptibility in proper dose. And it should be in proper repetition. The proposition is that medicine acts curatively in infinitesimal quantities when given in cases to which they are homeopathic. So, first important rule is that they should be homeopathic. Means they are very perfect simillimum. Then that medicine will going to produce its action, otherwise not. Second, and they still further qualify this statement by laying down three necessary requirements for such action. Number one, the development of special virtues in medicines by a peculiar process of preparation or potentization. Second important thing, what medicine you are using and how you have prepared. The way the homeopathic pharmacopoeia says, according to the homeopathic principles, if you have prepared the medicines with the potentization, that should be there. Second, the increased susceptibility to the medicinal impression produced by the disease. And number three, the selection of symptomatically similar remedy. So three important entities which takes part in this process. You have to judge first, you have to select perfect remedy. Then you have to judge the susceptibility and select proper potency. And third important thing is that you have to look what disease you are giving the medicine, and accordingly you have to select potency and give the medicine. They affirm and stand ready to demonstrate that an infinitesimal dose of medicine has power and that it acts as a force. But in order that the force should be medicinal or curative, a condition of application is necessary, namely that it be applied in accordance with the homeopathic law. So, what he is saying, whenever you are using such a medicine, then it acts definitely on the basis of force, because there is an energy inside the medicine. The medicine which we prepare by the method of potentization, that is succussion or trituration, where we put a lot of energy, removing the material content of the medicine every time with each and every increasing potency. And that's why homeopathic medicines are energy medicine, and they act with the help of their force. So, whenever we choose a remedy on the basis of homeopathic law and give it to the patient in such a potentized form, it is nothing but the force which works on the vital force. The force to be effective must be supplied not only in proper amount, but in the proper direction and proper time. Two more conditions. It is not only the proper potency. Second important thing, proper direction. How to give it, whether by the method of olfaction, whether by the method of regular mouth, whether by applying it on the skin, the direction, how to use it, and whether repeat or not to repeat, all things which we have to take into consideration, and the timings of giving the medicine. Most important thing, one must know that there are certain medicines which acts best in specific time. For example, if you read the Borix Mater Medica, the dose of Naxomica, what he has given, what he has said. Have you read any time? What happens? We read Mater Medica only up to the relation, and thereafter we never
It is
read because we because it has been mentioned over there that it should be given at the time bedtime, so that at the time of repose it works beautifully. The medicine should not be given during aggravation period. That is second law one has to consider. So Rustox is having night aggravation, so Rustox should not be given at night time. If you are to start Rustox, give it in morning. That is how one has to use. So remedies according to the timings, which according to the situation and timings we have to take into consideration to give at a specific way. The proper amount of drug to be administered in a given case can never be settled by a priori reasoning, but only by experience, and thus it has been settled. So it is not a question of theory. It is not, many students ask me, sir, how much potency shall we give, or how you tell me potency. It is a question of practical learning. When you learn, observe, utilize, then you see the actions, then you understand the depth of it, and then you automatically gain the knowledge of it. It is like learning music. You must know the notes to develop, then and then you learn the music. Otherwise, you cannot play a harmonium. Unless we get that knowledge of notes, then we can use that harmony. The same is true over here. It is a practical knowledge which gives you exactly how to, which potency one should think about, and that you can gain only in practical way. Those who hesitate to try the infinitesimal doses of homeopathy on the ground of improbability should be reminded that an infinitesimal quantity is a quantity. It cannot be thought of as nothing. Here, Hahnemann's reply to those who railed at infinitesimal dose as nothing or and absurd. So what he says, that there are many people who says that there is nothing in homeopathy. They are placebo tablets. That is one comment is always made on homeopathy. Most important thing is that if anyone makes such a comment, better way is to give him sulfur 10 m potency or any potency of sulfur and ask him to take it repeatedly for at least for 4-5 days and see whether it is a placebo or not. And ask him that don't come to me for anything which happens. And ask him whether you have daring to understand the things, whether it contains the medicine or not. Unless and until you know practically, you cannot believe the things. There are many people who used to say like that or make comment on that. The answer is very, very nicely given over there. For example, science never explains each and everything. If there are people who says that the medicine is so small and you have make it every time reduced and it never remains medicine, how it will act, then tell them a truth and then tell them that what is science. Tell them one simple thing. If we add, if we take a certain quantity of seawater and measure the contents of salt over there, the sugar over there, and analyzed it, and in front of million peoples, you put a quintal of sugar in the sea, and after period of 10-15 minutes, again take a same sample and check it and analyze it. If it doesn't show any change, does it means that it is not scientific? Where it is the lacking of scientific, lacking the capacity of the science to measure the thing. The things are truth, but which cannot be explained every time scientifically, because dynamic things cannot be measured with the science. And that's why certain people who says that homeopathic medicine is placebo, there is nothing. Simple example, tell them directly that take our medicines for at least a week and see what happens. I think it's better to stop over here. Tomorrow we'll continue, not tomorrow, we'll meet directly on Monday with the next part of the homeopathic posology. It is a very perfect chapter where he has tried to simplify the things more and more. So be there on Monday. Today evening, we're going to start with remaining groups of Materia Medica. One group, I think the third group, which we have not yet discussed. Just a minute. Which is the third group? I think it might be a spider, or it might be anything. That group, Kali group, will be there. That group remedy will going to start learning in today's session of Materia Medica. So third year syllabus, 4 groups still we have not discussed. One group will going to learn in today's session. So thank you being there, and meet again at 8:15. Good night.
Thank you very much, sir.